Hi, this is John Rosenhead, the Torah and Psychotherapist. This week's Torah and Psychology post, Pasha Shelach, is going to discuss how to say sorry. Because in this week's Pasha, we have a interesting, puzzling, but also tragic account of the Mapilim, which is a group of people that after the Meraglim had come and given their reports about Eretz Yisrael, and HaKadosh Baruch Hu had then, in response, decided that the Bnei Yisrael will be punished and have to stay in the Midbar for another 40 years. There was a group of people that said, well, now we want to go in. And they were told by Moshe, do not go. And in the end, we know that their attempt was not successful. And the way that they are presented is a little bit ambiguous. In the one hand, it is described in the Pesukim as being a rebellion against the Kodesh Baruch Hu, that it was against the Kodesh Baruch Hu's will. At the same time, they're not necessarily presented as being complete Rishoim. Rather, we're told that they were contrite, they apologized, they were sorry, they regretted their actions before, or the response that they had to the Meraglim, and they were saying, we're sorry and we want to make up for it and we want to go into Eretz Yisrael. So there is a certain level of that they were apologetic, but the Netziv explains that perhaps their apology and their regret was not complete. It was not a full, authentic, genuine apology because they were only focused on themselves, on their part, on what they wanted and fulfilling their needs. That they were saying sorry and they were trying to say, let's go back to the way things were. Let's make up and let's continue. We want to go into Eretz Yisrael now. Let's forgive and forget in a sense. And they weren't appreciating or acknowledging and taking into account the damage and the pain that had been caused to the other person and taking into consideration how the other person is feeling. And this is what the Netziv was saying, that it was still against the will of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. They were trying to do something which wasn't taking into account what HaKadosh Baruch Hu was saying. It wasn't taking this apology was looking at their own needs, the needs of the Mapilim, and saying, let's make up for this and let's go into Eretz Yisrael. We still actually want to go into Eretz Yisrael. And this is not the way to apologize. If we're looking at interpersonal relationships, especially if we look into the field of marital therapy, it focuses on the dynamics and the complexity of this relationship, of a marital relationship. And certainly, especially when there's been a breakdown in the relationship and there's pain and there's suffering, in the marital therapy, it's trying to help the couple to repair the damage. And what's integral to this therapy is being able to apologize in the right way. And this apology, being able to say sorry, is taking ownership over the damage that has been caused. And to do this is to fully understand and acknowledge the pain that the other person is feeling. And this can be done through a technique, through mirroring, being able to reflect back and being able to sit in the other person's chair, in a sense, and fully being able to listen to what the other person says, listen to the pain that they have experienced, listening to the repercussions and the consequences that the damage has caused to the other person, and being able to take ownership over that and to fully acknowledge and take responsibility for this apology, and that the apology needs to incorporate fully and acknowledge the other person's pain and the other person's position, not to be focused on your own interpretation and perhaps being judgmental or perhaps having an understanding of the pain which is single-minded based on your own needs, or is trying to cover over the damage and say, okay, I'm sorry, let's carry on, let's go back to the way things were. The apology needs to be genuine, it needs to be complete, and this is being able to fully acknowledge the other person's pain. Sometimes in certain situations, maybe in domestic violence or abuse, it can reach a level of a legal procedure. And there is actually a psychological, legal, in a sense, understanding or conceptualization to try to encourage a repair that can reach a genuine, contrite level where the person is able to apologize and take ownership and responsibility. And this is called restorative justice. That restorative justice is looking at the imbalance and the injustice that the damage and the pain has caused to the relationship. And sometimes it needs an actual procedure of restorative justice that allows what we could say is the perpetrator and the victim to come together in a controlled way, in a protected way, that the victim, the person that has been damaged, can explain fully their pain, how they feel, the repercussions, and that the other person is able to listen and built into this procedure is that the perpetrator is able to take ownership and acknowledge. And this restorative justice is somewhat controversial. It's been discussed. What is the level of efficacy? Is it appropriate? Maybe it can be re-traumatizing for the person, for the victim. Perhaps it does more damage than good. But what is integral, and the research has shown, is that if it is able to be controlled in a sense that the victim is willing and is actually agrees to this and wants to engage in this restorative justice, that it is focused on the perpetrator being able to fully understand and acknowledge the other person's side and pain and take ownership and responsibility for that, that this can then be expressed in a contrite and acceptable and genuine apology. This is the framework of restorative justice. Then perhaps it is appropriate and it should be used. But what we see here is from the dynamics of an apology, and what we can see from the Parashat of the Mapilim is that it has to be focused, and it's important that it has to acknowledge the other person's pain and damage, not just be focused on your own needs, and to perhaps view the apology in a light way, in something that needs to be got over with as quickly as possible. There is a process, there is a procedure, and there is a technicality and a depth and significance to the apology, to a genuine apology. Have a great Shabbos and keep well.